The Battle of the Bulge was the last major Nazi offensive against the Allies in World War II and involved almost 1 million soldiers. The new book is called Voices of the Bulge, and documentary of the same name reveal untold stories from that battle with first-hand accounts from both American soldiers and German veterans, including SS officers, or soldiers I should say, who talked to the authors after decades of silence. Joining us this morning are the authors and documentary makers Martin King and Michael Collins. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Wow, 12 years of your blood, sweat, and tears into this book. Is the story now told, the complete story of the Battle of the Bulge?
It will never be told. Absolutely not, no. We're still uncovering stuff now today. But 12 years collectively we spent investigating stories and cross-referencing, and I've been working from Europe where I live, and Mike's been working here in the States. He's been down here a lot too. Where did you go down here, Mike?
Yeah, we went to the National Archives in College Park, just doing research, looking for just documentation of the different reports written out by each division during that battle. And when I would uncover things, I would send emails and make phone calls to Martin telling him what I found.
Oh, my phone bill was horrendous. Oh, dear me.
But well worth it. Well worth it, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
In the book, what I find just so incredible is what we said in that lead in there, because you talk to both sides. It is a complete look at what was going on with these oftentimes very young men. Tell us about talking to these men and the first-hand accounts that we'll read when we pick up Voices of the Bulge. I'll start with you, Michael.
Well, yeah, with the American veterans, it was some of them never had really spoken about their stories until either now or just the past few years.
You find that a lot, right? They don't speak. This generation often doesn't speak about it. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, this generation, they came back from war and they went back to their everyday life. They didn't really see it as something that they needed to dwell on. They saw this as their job, and they came back. But many of them, some of them began to relive some of the horrors they saw. And you had to be mindful of this because you had many soldiers who lost many friends during this battle, and some of them became prisoners of war. And that can be very difficult when, as a historian, when you're interviewing someone, you have to be very mindful of what they went through. And that was very difficult.
What they went through. Martin, I'll ask you about the German soldiers, including the SS soldiers. I'm very surprised that they opened up at all and talked about this.
Me.
Can you talk about it, sort of what this was like?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, the SS don't like being interviewed.
Yes.
And when you actually do get them to talk, it's usually quite sporadic. And the thing is with the SS is that when you actually get through to they're all in their late 80s, early 90s, and it's almost like a confessional now. They're saying, oh yeah, okay, let's come out, we'll tell you what happened. And that was absolutely phenomenal. I mean, some of these guys were absolutely remarkable. There were atrocities committed during the Battle of the Bulge, and Mike and I also wanted to get under the skin of these and find out who were the perpetrators, who did what, who was where, and we've actually been able to establish this now. And if I might put a postscript to that.
Indeed.
Thanks to this book, one woman in this book was knighted this year because of this book. The first black woman in Europe to receive a knighthood because she served with the US Army in the Battle of the Bulge. She was a Belgian woman from the Congo, and she volunteered to work with the 10th Armoured Division, and she was largely forgotten. She never talked about it after the war. And when we uncovered her story, we compiled a dossier, and we actually sent this dossier to the King of Belgium, and we said, come on, this woman's a hero. She deserves recognition. And so with his support, my wife and I attended the knighthood ceremony this year in June, and Augusta Chiwi was knighted, Lady Augusta Chiwi of Bastogne. Lump in the throat like a melon. You would not believe. That was absolutely incredible. She's only that big.
Yes.
But what a woman.
I saw her picture. She's a petite little thing.
Oh, she's gorgeous.
Right.
Absolutely. She's absolutely wonderful. Now, Stephen Ambrose, the man who wrote Band of Brothers, had made his passing reference to Anna from the Congo. And I came in on this. I said, Anna from the Congo? You know, I know she was there, but we didn't have any idea of what she'd done.
Right.
And when we actually uncovered the story of how this little tiny lady was dragging wounded GIs off the battlefield under fire, wearing an American uniform, a US Army uniform, we said, we've got to go further
Do
with
something
this.
for her.
Absolutely.
Michael, 600,000 U.S. troops involved in this. 81,000 Americans died over this period. Has now the story been told? Are our kids learning what they need to know about these great sacrifices?
You know, I don't really think so, in a way. History in schools are being shoved off. Everyone's talking about science, technology, engineering, which are fine, they're great, but if you don't know your history, you will repeat it, as they say. And I believe not only for the Battle of the Bulge, but World War II in general, what these great veterans did, both men and women, is almost incomprehensible. They lived through the Depression, they then had to go to war, and then they had to come home. And that's just very, especially for many of them who didn't speak, they went back to what they knew. And to get these stories out, I mean, you can never get the complete story.
Sure.
But we hope that this book will...
and DVD.
And
it's
DVD.
Involved,
Yeah,
it's
that's
included
right.
in the
Does
book.
have a DVD.
Companion documentary DVD.
Yes.
You've told the story in a way that we can all understand it. The first-person account is so fascinating.
Yes, thank you.
We have to end this interview here, but you all do have appearances, right?
Oh,
yes.
Tell her where
Yes,
we've been. Tell her where we've been.
We've been to West Point.
Oh.
Yes.
We went to Siena College, my alma mater,
Yes.
in
New York.
Albany. Also, we went to Fort Dix in New Jersey. We're going to be at the U.S. Naval Museum here in D.C. today at 11:30.
Thanks
give
to
a talk.
Commander Jeffrey Barter, who invited us, by the way. And
Yes.
he's a lovely guy.
So if you would
We've
like
been
to
to
come,
West Point as well.
Yes,
West Point.
Valley Forge as well.
Valley Forge tomorrow.
if you'd like to come out and meet the authors, and man, I mean, it's all in here, and you should feel this book. It's so heavy. It's a beautiful book. It's called Voices of the Bulge, Untold Stories from Veterans of the Battle of the Bulge. Find out why Martin has that poppy on your lapel. I'm sure it's all in this book. Thank you for joining us,
All right,
both.
thank you
Thank you so much
Okay.
for inviting us.
Steve, over to you.